Purdue gets an 88-60 win against Auburn, a game that really they seem to control pretty much from the jump, a game that Purdue was able to get things clicking. We'll break down everything you need to know right here on Boilers in the Stands. Welcome back to Boilers in the Stands. I'm your host, Joe Jackson. Alongside me, as always, is my co-host, Kraig Bowers. Braggs will not be in attendance for this one, as apparently Bears-Packers, pretty big football game. So just Kraig and I today breaking down this one, but this is a game where Purdue, I mean, they controlled from the jump, winning 88-60. They pretty much got whatever they wanted offensively. In the first half, they averaged 1.7 points per possession. I think 1.375 for the entire game. Defensively, Auburn wasn't able to get a lot going consistently, other than it felt like some tough shot making for the most part. So a game, I don't know. There's definitely stuff to break down, a lot of stuff to highlight, which will be nice. But Kraig, what were your kind of thoughts on this game and anything that stood out maybe from the press conference that you went to?
Yeah, it was interesting. I stuck around. I'm okay. Okay, you unmuted my mic. I saw that you muted it. I thought I was gonna have to put money in the jar already. I stuck around for the Bruce Pearl press conference as well, or not Bruce Pearl, Stephen Pearl press conference as well, and he just talked about they thought they kind of did what they wanted to do defensively in terms of putting pressure on Braden, making things difficult on TKR in the first half, but that if CJ Cox and Jakari Harris were going to come out and shoot a combined, 8 of 12 on the day, that you weren't going to beat Purdue in those situations. And I think as good as Smith and TKR were in this game, that a lot of the conversation is about the quote others in this game and the contributions that they gave. But it's interesting because since that Iowa State loss, everybody's kind of been waiting for that like big bounce back game where Purdue just jumps on somebody right out of the gate. And it took a little bit longer to get to it, but felt like tonight was definitely that night. Purdue only trails for a minute and 13 in this game. And for me, it was a slow, methodical precision all night long because there was never a run more than 7 points in this game. And I think you mentioned, like, you looked up and you were like, oh, we're up double digits. And it just felt like they kept inching the lead. And it was kind of sustained excellence through the entire game, not a big run.
Yeah, that was what stood out to me too, is like this wasn't like one of those moments where it's just like uh right, Purdue just goes on this gigantic run and it's just over. It was just like, oh, okay, they're up 7 for a couple minutes. Okay, now they're up 11 a couple minutes later, and then they push it to 16, and just able to kind of continually trust their process and get good results from it. Even like Auburn also, they had just enough really tough shot making that anytime Purdue like knocked 2 or 3 down, I felt like they would hit a very tough shot, and then right, Gamebridge, which was, I don't know, 90% Purdue fans probably, just never, it felt like it was never like fully erupted, right? It was just never quite that moment that we kind of expect from Purdue wins like this, where it's just like, oh, it's really, really loud in here. Like Purdue is just on this insane run. It was, well, I mean, we'll get to the stats later, but they win points in the paint battle 40-20. Like it's just little things like that. They win the rebounding battle big. Just different little things like that, and obviously the shot making from really, it was really just CJ, Jack, and Jakari. I mean, Braden knocks down a 3 as well, but only 4 players hit a 3. We'll talk about Loyer, and obviously he went 0 for 7, but aside from that, just a really good game all around. I thought the defense was pretty good for the most part. Most of the rotations felt pretty good. I think Purdue kind of has their formula for how they want to try to go about guarding these teams with 3 bigs, or like a bigger wing going forward. So we'll talk about all that coming up, I guess. Is there anything else kind of high level you want to hit on?
In terms of big takeaways, is that where we're at in our segment right now? Or
Sure.
okay. All right. Well, we're usually a little tighter in our segments when Braggs isn't on, so I wanted to make sure we were in the in the flow here, as far as that goes. But I mean, for me, takeaway wise, we win the rebounding battle again. Something that I think has obviously been an emphasis this year for them, but win that again. But for me, and I asked Painter about it in the press conference. This team comes in Auburn averaging about 37 points in the paint per game. And we talked kind of when we were doing the preview show and the keys of the game about how important it was going to be to keep their guards and wings out of the paint and not let them get rim shots basically. And tonight they only finished with 20 on the night. So I thought that was absolutely huge. He said they really wanted to high hedge on Pettiford and they wanted to front everybody inside. And he thought they carried out that game plan excellent for the most part, other than a couple of mishaps here and there. So I thought that was one of the biggest stories of the entire game because, I mean, let's be honest, Auburn got some good looks from three, but they just weren't hitting them. But Purdue never let them get going in the paint.
Yeah, and the ones that Auburn did hit, like I thought they hit a lot of tough ones too, where it just was like ball would move for 25 seconds and then Auburn puts up some random shot and it just goes in. I do think there was some definitely like Auburn probably definitely undershot kind of compared to maybe the qualities of look that they got. But this kind of defense performance is, I would say, what Purdue needs. I don't think there should be a realistic expectation for them to be elite for 40 minutes. But if you can be elite for 30 to 35 and limit the mishaps to just a couple, that's when you're going to be able to find success, defensively for Purdue. They kind of keep hovering in this top 15 to top 30 range defensively. And given how good the offense is, that's all that they need. Like they don't need an elite offense or elite defense to be able to win a national championship. They just need a good enough defense. And I think today was more than obviously that. Auburn is a team that's definitely still trying to figure out who they are. And right. So it's not like uh it it's not like Auburn is like a top 10 team in the country or anything, but still impressive to be able to do this in a game where, yeah, again, Purdue just dominated from the jump. And well, the other guys obviously play a big factor. Braden Smith was awesome in this one, like just incredible. Some of the passes he made. Auburn, like they threw a couple different coverages at him. It just didn't matter. Braden was simply going to get literally whatever look he got. I think he had 14 assists to 3 turnovers, and like I don't know what one of the turnovers was like a shot clock violation, and one of them I think he just like lost the ball randomly. Like it was literally just incredible watching Braden Smith pass. We'll talk more about him coming up, but yeah, for me, like the bigger takeaway is just hey, this Purdue team's still pretty good, not pretty good, still really good. The Iowa State loss, yes, it's going to loom large, but at the same time, 11-1 on the season, right through one more non-conference game. Obviously, you have to get through that, but presume if they win that 12-1 through December, like everybody would take that to start the season. It's just the loss to Iowa State was obviously gigantic. This offense was clicking. It was good to see some guys knock down some threes. I don't know, just one of those games where it's like, oh yeah, Purdue's one of the best teams in the country, and it's almost can like analysis can stop at that.
Well, I think people listening are going to want to hear a little bit more than that, Joe. But
Yeah,
the only thing that you look at in this game, maybe negatively at all, is like Auburn beats Purdue from an offensive rebounding standpoint. I think they end up with two more. We talked about the importance of how good Auburn is at that in the preview show and how important it was going to be for Purdue to dominate the defensive glass. But I thought Painter made a really good point in the press conference when you look through who actually was getting those offensive rebounds. It was guards and wings. It was balls that were coming off the rim long. It wasn't really their big men that were getting them and being able to go right back up. And that really showed in terms of second chance points because when we go look at second chance points on the night, generally you think if you lose the offensive rebounding battle, you're going to lose that. But Purdue has 15 second chance points. Auburn only has 5, right? So, that's maybe more indicative that, again, there was some missed threes where the ball came off long. Purdue's offensive rebounds a lot of times were from their bigs that were going right back up and scoring again or kicking out to CJ, Jakari, Braden, whoever for absolutely wide open threes that all of those guys drilled.
it's also like the caveat to that too. Auburn ends with 11 offensive rebounds. Purdue ends with 9. Purdue wins the offensive rebounding percentage battle by 10 full percentage points.
Okay.
Purdue didn't miss a lot, so it does make it a
Right.
little bit tougher to get those offensive rebounds as well. But like that is something I want to call out too. Like it felt like every offensive rebound was just like immediate points. They have so what they ended up with 15 second chance points on 9 offensive rebounds. So 1.6 points per offensive rebound, essentially. Like that's really incredible too. It felt like it was just either a knockdown three or immediately going right back up and getting a look. And this is a game like TKR. I'm gonna fill in for Braggs a bit. It was like I kind of looked down and I was like, oh, like TKR has 18-6. Like it didn't he had a couple big time post ups in the second half where he was just like, I'm going to
Yeah.
be more physical than you. But for the most part, it wasn't like oh man, TKR is just dominating this game. And he ends up leading Purdue in scoring and on efficient shooting, 9 of 13, doesn't turn the ball over. So, like, I think that's kind of indicative of TKR as a totality this season of like he's still been incredibly good. It's maybe not been quite as loud as last season, and he hasn't needed it to be, but he's still been really good.
Yeah, and I've got more to say when we get to TKR later, and I'm just going to save it till then. But I got a lot of questions this week. Just I live in Lafayette and spend a lot of time in the West Lafayette area, and I just had a lot of people come up and ask me about, is Trey okay? Like, do you feel good about where he's at? When we get to the player breakdown, I've got some things that I want to say in regards to that, but yeah, I think for big takeaways, there's not really a whole lot else to go off of here, other than obviously you talked about them in the preview show, just wanting to see that 3-point shooting get going. I don't know that we're ever going to see a night again where Purdue shoots 46% from three and Lawyer's 0 of 7. Like, think about that stat line. That's
Yeah.
absolutely wild. But absolutely everybody else got it going. We've been waiting for like a Benner breakout 3 game. He goes 3 for 3 today. Um, Man, the more comfortable he gets from outside, I think just the better it's going to be, man. So we can probably
Yeah.
move into. You want to get into stats?
Yeah, we can. And as we transition, just to bring up where everybody's at, 3-point shooting on the season. Braden's 42% on 50 attempts. Lawyer's 42.1% on 76 attempts. CJ is now 42.9% on 42 attempts. Jakari's 35.5% on 31 attempts. Benner's 50% on 24 attempts. Murphy's also 50% on 14 attempts. So Purdue still has shooters, and like they're shooting 40.1% from three on the season, and it doesn't feel like that. Like it feels like they're undershooting right now, which probably is a scary sight to basically everybody else. But let's get into some of the stats, like you said. Bring them up here. And yeah, so Purdue wins 88-60, shoots 46.2% from three, like we mentioned, 10 of 10 from the free throw line, although Loyer and Smith were the only two to take any sort of free throws. Purdue wins the rebounding battle 36-25, 11 turnovers to 10 for Auburn. We've already mentioned 40 points in the paint compared to 20 for Auburn. A very slow game, nine fast break points compared to 3 for Auburn. Is there anything else that's worth mentioning? 15-5 second chance points, 21-13 assists. Yeah, I don't know. Is anything else kind of stand out to you from a team standpoint?
No, we really kind of addressed like all the stats that we needed to, I guess, when we were doing the big takeaways. I just realized as you were reading those off, like we kind of already nailed every one of those. That was kind of a big standout of like why Purdue won this game. So I don't know that there's a lot more to go into there in that regard specifically, but I, the free throw thing was funny to me because I heard a couple other guys as we were getting ready for the press conference say, "Man, we shot 100% from the free throw line," and it's like, well, if Loyer and Smith are shooting all your free throws in a game, there's a pretty good chance it's going to go that way a lot.
Yeah, definitely. And fun fact, just bonus fun fact, Auburn. Now this stat does not like actually mean anything in terms of your defense, but Auburn has the worst defensive free throw percentage in the entire country. Like teams are shooting better from the free throw line against Auburn than literally anybody in the entire country. Teams are shooting 79.7% from the free throw line against Auburn. I I don't think there's anything to that other than just random variance, but tough stuff for Auburn in a season where you're trying to figure things out anyways. Like that's just an unfortunate break to be going against you. But yeah, I think like you said, the stats kind of just tell how Purdue dominated in this one with winning by 28 points. Like they won the categories across the board for the most part, and that was very much indicative of the final score as well. So, do you want to give a shout out to our sponsor real quick before we get into some of the player breakdowns?
Yeah, I want to thank Remington Auto Wash again for being our sponsor tonight. Appreciate everything they do. For those of you guys that live in the Remington area, or those of you that travel down from the region, swing by, check them out, take advantage of their service.
Hey folks, quick shout out to our new sponsor that's making it easier and shinier than ever to keep your ride looking fresh. Introducing Remington Auto Wash, your locally owned and family operated car wash located 30 minutes north of Purdue University in Remington, Indiana. Whether you're in a rush or love doing it yourself, they've got you covered. Touchless automatic bay, perfect for a fast, scratch-free clean with no brushes, no worries. Self-serve bays for the hands-on car lovers who want to wash, rinse, and shine their way. High-powered vacuums, perfect for getting your interior looking as good as the outside. Clean water, top-quality soaps, and equipment that is run by real people right here in the community. Swing by Remington Auto Wash and support a local business that cares about your car just as much as you do. Open 24 hours a day at the corner of U.S. Highway 24 and 231 in Remington, Indiana. That's Remington Auto Wash, where clean cars and local pride go hand in hand.
Yeah, shout out to our sponsor. Appreciate them for sponsoring the show. So yeah, we can get into, I think, some of the player breakdowns. Like I said, with Purdue winning by 28, like it's one of those games where it's just like, yeah, Purdue was clearly the better team, and coming into the season, that is something that should be. Maybe you don't expect 28-point wins against Auburn, but this is a game obviously that they should have won, and they took care of that. Pulling up some of the player stats, we're going to start with Braden Smith because he's incredible, and we know that he's incredible, but like he is just, I don't have any words to like use other than just like he is one of one. He is incredible. Like I think everybody's appreciating his greatness. I don't think people aren't, but like appreciate how good he is. Like it is insane some of the things that he is doing today. 11 points, 5 rebounds, 14 assists, 3 turnovers, 3 steals, a block, knocks down a 3 in 35 minutes of play. Good defense. Auburn literally had like 0 answers for what they wanted to do defensively. If they switched, he just ISO'd and then drove and then got the foul, the big to bite on a pump fake and go to the free throw line. If they high hedged, he dragged the big out and then just facilitated to literally whoever he wanted. Some of the passes he made were just absolutely, I thought, incredible. He had one, like he just had a couple skip passes that were just, it was insane. Right, he's at that points where it's like, hey, Braden Smith's incredible. All right, next player. But I do just want to like re-emphasize, like, do not take for granted what Braden Smith is doing this season. We know Purdue. We believe Purdue will probably be good again next year, right? And whoever steps up next will step up. But like, there's not going to be another Braden Smith walking through the doors of Mackey Arena. Maybe ever, but at least probably for a long time. So just like appreciate Braden right now.
Yeah, 100%. And I don't know, the one skip pass to Jakari was just absolutely ridiculous, and we may hear about that play later on in this show as well. We'll have to see.
That was
don't give
we
it
were on
away
the
yet,
same
Joe.
page.
Don't give it away yet, Joe. I got a different one. Mine's kind of a basic play, but nonetheless, another just absolute great performance from Braden. And I thought he really had him just like, I mean, he was toying with him like a yo-yo with the head fake, and he got a switch to Murphy at the top of the key and just told everybody to get out of the way and just took him off the bounce. Head fake, boom, foul. I think he should have had an and one on that one and missed it, but there was another time he does it again, and Keyshawn Hall's yelling at the guy like, "Stay on your feet, stay on your feet." I'm like, Hall, you did it just like a few minutes ago too, and they couldn't do it, man. They fell for that head fake every time, something that Iowa State did not do a single time in that game, unfortunately. But update on the assist tracker for Braden Smith. He is 17 away now from, I believe, tying the Big Ten assist record. Pretty good chance that may happen in Wisconsin. Early in the season, it looked like based on his average, it would either come at home versus Iowa or Washington. At this point, good chance that might happen up in Wisconsin. So if you want to see him break the Big Ten assist record from, oh my gosh, I just had a blank. Who's the guy from Michigan
Cole
State
Center?
that has a cat?
Oh,
Cassius
Cassius Winston?
Yeah. Cassius Winston. Man, that was terrible. You may have to buy a ticket to the Cole Center. It's a beautiful place, and Madison's a lovely town. So might as well head up there, witness that, witness a little piece of history.
There you go. Yeah, and obviously it'll depend too on what Purdue does against Kent State, if he's able to kind of rack up some assists or not, and then see what the gameplay does for Wisconsin. The last thing I have on Braden, like something that I fully realized is like, and it goes with kind of appreciating his greatness, is like I've realized how much I have learned about the point guard position by simply watching him. Like by simply watching him every game, and obviously I do not see the floor anywhere close to as well as Braden Smith does. I'm not saying that, but like some of the different angles and the way he's able to move defenders, and like I catch myself now being like, okay, he's coming off a screen. Oh, that the weak side corner defender, he's leaking in this way. That means this pass is coming, and like just little things like that. It's like, oh, I've realized I've learned that just simply from watching Braden Smith over the last handful of years. And again, I do not see the floor anywhere close to as good as he does, but like just really just have enjoyed watching him be able to do his thing. So, all right,
What are the chances? What are the chances that Braden hears how close he is to that Big Ten assist record, decides he wants to get it home, and just comes out and tries to rack up like 20 against Kent State?
I could, if he gets close, I could see it. Like if he gets a half where he gets like, say, if he has like another half like the first one, this one where it gets like, what do you have, 9, I think, in the first half. And if Purdue's in the spot where they can mess around, for lack of a better word, I could see them hunting it a little bit in that second half just to try to get it at Mackey. I don't like if the game's in jeopardy in any capacity. I do not think it matters. But if they're in that spot and Braden has one of those games where he just like today, he just naturally kind of stumbled upon 9 assists in the first half. I could see that absolutely happening. Where maybe he just gets a couple extra minutes in the second half if Purdue. Now Kent State's good, and we'll preview them. But if Purdue's in that spot where they're up 25-30 in the second half, maybe Braden does get a couple more minutes, and we'll see. But a fun thing to be able to track. All right, moving on to the next player. Let's go to TKR, and then we'll talk about CJ and Jakari after. But we will talk about them separately because they deserve it this game. TKR, 18 points, 6 rebounds, and assists, no turnovers in this one. 9 of 13 from the floor, 2 offensive rebounds, did add in a steal. The only negative I really had is like he didn't hold up well defending on the perimeter. That's kind of the only negative I have. Outside of that, thought he handled the physicality well. At times, Auburn was sending, it felt like a bunch of post help when he was in the post. I thought Purdue did a good job of getting him in spots where he could just kind of back down. And was it the first possession, I think, of the second half where he basically caught it on the 3-point line and just backed down all the way to the rim. And there was a quote post game. It's that, and you can speak to it obviously much better than me, but TKR said something like, I had this game circled. I wish we would have won by 50. And I think very much reflective of how he played today.
Yeah, and I guess what I was alluding to earlier, I had a lot of questions about like, is TKR okay? Are you concerned about him offensively? It doesn't seem like that floater's going down. Now he missed those first 2 floaters tonight, and I don't know that he really hit a bunch of floaters. He more went to his true hook or getting all the way to the rim, but he was aware of that and also just aware that he could do whatever he wanted against this team once he got down there. And I mean, for me, what he did coming out right out of the jump in that second half, where he kind of catches the ball from Braden. And I know that was a little bit later. A little bit later, he catches the ball from Braden, realizes he's got a smaller man on him, and just kind of dribbles over to the wing. Like he dribbles over to the wing to the 3-point line, then faces him up and goes at him off the dribble. But then 2 more people come over on him and still finishes through it. And it just felt like tonight, Trey was like, hey, I'm the man down low under here, and I don't care if you send 2 or you send 3 my way, I'm still going to score, and I'm not going to use the 8-foot floater. I'm going to go ahead and get all the way to the rim, or just a 2 or 3-foot shot. And we saw Zach do that all the time. This kind of feels a little bit now. I talk often about like, you don't want Trey to force it either, right? You don't want him to force into 2 or 3 guys all the time. But in this particular matchup, it just didn't matter. And once he did that once, it was like, all right, I can take 1-on-2 and still score anytime I want to.
Yeah, and this quickly fact checking, but I believe this was the most post ups Purdue has ran all season, and this was the most post ups TKR has had in a game all season. He had 9 post ups today. Previous high was 6 against both Texas Tech and Alabama. Although I guess because he didn't play the 2 games before that. But yeah, so most post ups that he had tonight, like you said, it was a lot more of just like 1-on-1 backing down, getting to the hook. He's still shooting very well on his hooks, very well on his floaters. in a game where, yeah, just it wasn't the 30-point outburst that we've seen maybe at times from him last season, but it was still a very effective 18 points, 6 rebound, 1 assist game where, yeah, he just looked like he's taken everything so personal this year. And it's a good thing. It makes me laugh a bit, but it's a good thing. And he just looked like it absolutely again today. So anything else on TKR?
I mean, just the only thing I was going to say there is I don't know that we'll see a 30-point game out of Trey. And if we do, it's because everybody else who's come along from a scoring standpoint and throwing in Jacobson and Clough, whoever, isn't having a good game, right? Because like
Yeah.
there's so much other scoring around him this year. If he has to go out and get 30, I think that probably speaks to others not playing well. So I feel content about where Trey is 100%. I think he's just fine. And his scoring average is just going to be down this year from what it was last year.
Yeah, and he has scored. He scored between 10 and 19 points in every single game except the Iowa State one, where he really struggled and only had 4 in that one. But I mean, he's still getting double figures basically every game. Has had at least 6 made field goals in 8 of his 10 games. So, yeah, good stuff from him tonight. Let's talk about CJ. We'll talk about him first. Is we always lump the CJ and Jakari together, and they shot like you look at their stat line and it's close enough that we could do it again, but we'll keep them separate this time. CJ, 24 minutes, he has 14 points, goes knocks down a 2, and then 4 of 7 from 3, adds in 1 rebound, 1 assist. Thought the defense was good overall. Did a good job on Keyshawn Hall, that is who he kind of matched up with, especially early on in the game. I'll throw it to you, kind of your thoughts on CJ and what he brought tonight.
I mean, I thought he was great, just out of the gate. And for whatever reason, we've seen kind of a little bit of this correlation where if CJ gets going early, it generally means good things for Purdue. And he got going early tonight. And quite frankly, for me, he's too timid with his trigger sometimes. And Casey Bartley actually said this to me in the press conferences we were sitting in there is, if he had Jack Benner's trigger and confidence in terms of just, I'm going to shoot it whenever I want to, he'd probably average a couple more threes a game. And obviously that'll probably come next year when he's a little bit more of the focal point. But the most important play for me all game from CJ was this after he missed that shot, when he gets the kick out on the offensive rebound, that he had the confidence and aggressiveness to just go ahead and put the next one right back up too. So I want to see that from him all the time.
Yeah, and that felt like, because it wasn't as much today where Purdue was like scheming him open specifically. It was just kind of this is the game. Like, he did exactly what he needed to in this game script, where there are going to be games that, because Purdue is so good offensively, they live with CJ Cox shooting open threes. And like, those are the ones he has to be able to knock down. And obviously he should be getting mixed in some stuff scheme for him as well. And like you said, that'll even grow next year once he's a little bit more of the focal point. Like, he's the 5th option offensively right now. And on any given night, it can jump up. But when he's in that starting 5, like, he's probably the 5th option offensively. But being in the spot where, if defenses are going to send help off of him, and him being able to have that trigger, knock it down, or gets the kick out. I think he knocked two of his threes down off of offensive rebound kickouts. Like that, those are massive, massive plays that where defenses are like, all right, we got the ball out of Braden and TKR's hands. Lawyer's not getting an open 3. This is a great possession. And then CJ is just going to drill a 3. So really good stuff from him there. Like I said, also defensively, like his ability to at least size up enough to, and it's not just him. It's not like he's just guarding Keyshawn Hall one-on-one, right? He's forcing him into help, but just not letting Keyshawn Hall, who's listed at 6'7", I believe, or 6'8", 6'7", 240 pounds, like just not letting him bully his way to easy buckets is very important as we look ahead. I know, we're not going to jump far into the schedule, but like you think about a couple of the matchups, specifically Michigan, like they start 3 very talented bigs. They're just going to be matchups like that where CJ's probably going to have to guard the Yaxels and the Keyshawn Halls. And if they played Iowa State again, he might guard like Momcilovic, like just those types of guys. He's just going to have to be able to guard him. And I thought he did very well today against him defensively. So anything else on CJ? Don't want to cut you short.
No, but let's give a shout out because we just got a super chat at BK1 Bennett. Great win. The whole team came to play. Braden does something new every game. I'm still marveling over that 30-foot bounce pass to Oscar. TKR is an alpha. And we just had another super chat roll in from Jarrett Giddle. I'm going to go with
Goodell.
Goodell. Well, yeah, we'll go with that. Correct us if we're wrong. Nice talking hoops with you in Nassau, Kraig. CJ took the matchup with their star small forward Keyshawn Hall today. Would you expect him to guard Yaxel? I think that you just answered that, Joe. In
Incredible
the
timing.
monologue. Yeah, incredible timing, but it looks like that might be the case. Just want to say, guys, as I get out and travel maybe just a little bit more to some of these away games, neutral site games, and the other guys. I always enjoy when you guys come up and say hi and talk. So Jarrett, was really good to meet you out there as well. Certainly appreciate that, and thank you for all the super chats. Hit the like button, subscribe. Super chats are one of the things that kind of allow us to do this travel and go to NCAA tournament games and some of these neutral site games as well and bring the coverage to you that we can. So thank you very much from that regard.
Yeah, appreciate the super chats, appreciate the support, and obviously, of course, people coming up saying hi and the concourse or whatever. Always a pleasure getting to say hi to people. So, talked about CJ. We'll talk about his counterpart now, Jakari, who ends up putting a pretty similar stat line, has 12 points, 4 or 6 from 3, and also adds in 4 rebounds as well. Just good to see him knock down threes. Like, that's the big thing. And he's up to 35.5% from 3 on the season. Obviously, 4 of 6 from 3 in a game where you're not super high volume on the season anyways is going to bump that a lot. Also did go 3 of 4 against Rutgers. So it has been very hit or miss. It's felt like him knocking down his first feels very, very important to the rest of his shooting game. But similar concept to kind of CJ, Jakari's came later, right? CJ set the tone very early, but Jakari being able to continue that, knocking down the threes that defenses are going to give him and make him prove that he can knock down. Also thought he did well when he had the Keyshawn Hall matchup. He's in that same spot of CJ. He's gonna get at times the matchups on the Yaxels and Keyshawn Halls and just different players like that when teams run two bigs and a big wing or 3 bigs, however you want to classify them. So just good to see him be able to knock those down. I don't know. I don't have too much more. Like, this is Jakari's role is 3 and D. I think he checked off both boxes today.
Yeah, and I just think it's so important when we see that second lineup come in that Jakari, to a smaller degree, Benter's percentage was actually relatively good coming into tonight, but it's kind of come maybe not in some moments of games where things were still not decided. And I think it's really important that both of those guys get going so that we have outside threats when that second unit is in there, alongside either Braden or Fletch, whichever two the kind of like starters is still out there. But critical, absolutely critical. And I thought he shot the ball really confident and didn't rush it. I thought early in the season he was rushing it sometimes. Painter talked today about how well he'd shot the ball, kind of all summer, and in the exhibition games. And then it just, didn't carry over right away into the season, and how it's just a little bit different feel. But it feels like over the last few games that he's starting to just get more comfortable with it. And it's going to mean huge things for Purdue. Like Stephen Pearl said, if, he said something about, Jakari had only hit 7 threes on the season and comes in and starts, I think, 4 for 4 from 3 before he misses one. And then he threw out Benner's name and he's like, and Jack Benner comes off the bench and hits 3. And I'm like, you didn't read the high school scout on Jack. if you were telling people not to guard him from outside, but I digress.
Yep. And just calling out Jakari last season, super struggled to start the season, right? And he was a starter, got pulled for CJ. I don't think anybody disagrees with that decision by any means, but then Jakari does shoot 42% from 3 on lower volume during conference play. So, like, maybe that's just his thing where he's just gonna have to, like, he just takes a little bit of time to get settled and then maybe he starts shooting the ball better. Obviously, you don't want to overreact to just a 1-game sample size, but hopeful, because again, when CJ's off the floor and Jakari comes in, that means Jakari's the 5th option, and that means Jakari's going to be the one getting open threes in certain games. So being able to knock him down really is the big thing that decides whether he plays like 8 minutes or 16 minutes in bigger time games. Now, it's a little construed because as you and I kind of mentioned during the game, like Purdue just hasn't had a close game in like a month, basically. Really since the Memphis game, they just haven't had a close game. So that also changes things a bit too. But talk about Loyer. I guess we'll kind of round out the trio of guards not named Braden Smith. Obviously was not a good shooting night from Fletcher Loyer. I would have to fact check, but I would say probably his worst shooting night of his entire career. He goes 0 of 7 from 3, does go 2 of 3 from 2, adds in 3 rebounds, an assist, a block, a steal. I guess we'll start this way, and then we'll talk maybe a little bit more about the game, because I do think he did some of the other stuff well. Are you concerned at all about Fletcher Loyer's 3-point shooting?
No. And I think we've seen him kind of go through stretches like this in previous seasons before, and we'll see it bounce back. I'm not worried about it at all. Felt like he rushed just a couple of them tonight, but I'm not worried about that at all. And it's interesting to me that he goes 2 for 10, still manages to get 8 points by getting to the free throw line 4 times and knocking down a couple of shots on the drive. And one of those, he kind of draws contact, and as soon as he does, just kind of like falls over to his right and chucks the ball up towards the backboard. And he was laughing the whole way to the free throw line, but still really crafty tonight. They were falling for it. Sometimes they don't, and then it looks a little bit ridiculous when he doesn't get the call, but that wasn't the issue tonight. But I'm not worried about it long term. Like you said, I thought he had some other good moments. He gets matched up on Hall, gets switched on Hall. Hall tries to take him to the rim, and somehow he blocks it. Like I told you, I started typing right away, like got abused by Hall, and then he gets the block out of it. And yeah, every once in a while, he'll make a really good defense. I mean, more than once in a while, he'll make a really good defensive play. But that was you don't expect a Loyer with a block on a 6'7" guy that's probably going to end up in the NBA.
Yeah, no, that's not usually on the bingo card, and that's where right, Loyers did not shoot well from 3. He was forcing it. He wanted one to go. I don't think he was forcing, I should say. You could just tell he was trying to will the ball in and not just shoot the ball, if that makes any sense. But I thought he did a lot of the other things well, and it's just not a normal Fletcher Loyer game script. Usually it's yeah, he was fine defensively, but he knocked down a few threes, got to the free throw line, did his thing. And it was tonight was oh, I thought the defense was pretty good for the most part. I thought some of the drives were good where he attacked some closeouts well. Just did fought for a couple boards down low too. Especially there was 1 or 2 early on. They're not obviously gigantic plays in the grand scheme of things, but still it was just oh, able to do some of the other things. And right, I guess that is worth calling out in itself for Loyer. And like you, I'm not worried about the 3-point shooting. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna get there. He's a career 40% 3-point shooter on 568 attempts. That's a pretty good sample size to be a 40% 3-point shooter for his career, which also includes him shooting 32% his freshman season. If we remember back to then, everybody was is Loyer a good shooter? And turns out he is. So not worried, but also would be nice to see him knock down a couple. It would be, I guess he went 4 of 8 last game against Marquette. It didn't feel like it, I think, because did he miss a couple of his first ones maybe, but has been a tough stretch. He's going to shoot out of it. I'm not concerned about it either. Clough and Jacobson separate or together for talking about them?
We can talk them together tonight, I think.
Yeah, I think I agree with that as well. Clough, he goes in 22 minutes, 6 points on 3 of 6 shooting, 7 boards, 3 of them being offensive, has an assist and a turnover. Jacobson, 4 points on 2 of 3 shooting, 3 boards with 1 being offensive, an assist, a turnover, and 3 blocks. For Clough, for me, just continuing showing more comfort in the post. He had the one where he gets the offensive rebound. It looked like he could have just went right back up right away, but instead gathers, looks like he's going to pass out. And then it's just oh wait, I can just kind of post up. And then I think he has a little reverse layup thing. So just good to see him do that. I thought the hedges were solid. I don't think they were awesome. I think he did a good job pushing Pettiford out. I don't think he was the best at recovering. And maybe that is more just backside rotation stuff that Purdue needs to touch up. But even that's kind of nitpicking a handful of plays early in the game, especially. I don't have honestly a lot on Jacobson. He's done a better job of like his one post up he got. He did a good job of just going up quick in the post. Um, Weak side rotations have been good. What do you got on Clough and Jacobson?
So Stephen Pearl got asked about the 40 points in the paint, and he started to get really frustrated towards the end of the press conference, and like he kind of took a minute, looked down, collected himself, took a deep breath, and then looked back up, and he was like, "You saw their size, right?" He's like, "I'm just asking. Like, did you see their size?" He's like 7'4", 7 foot, and Trey Kaufman-Renn. He's like, they're hard to stop. Like, what do you want me to say? Like, we tried to be physical. We did as good of a job as we could. Just couldn't really match up today. And yeah, I like neither of them have a huge game, but I do think it's just really, really important. And Pearl did talk about this too, just about yeah, like they get 5 blocks. I think Clough has one maybe, and no, Clough didn't have any. Jacobson has 3. Loyer has 1, and Smith has 1.
Yeah.
But he talked about just how much Clough and Jacobson altered shots that weren't blocks. And I don't think we can like Caleb did some things defensively that are really, really hard to do for a 6'10", 6'11" guy, but his prowess was more in his ability to guard on the perimeter at his size because he's so athletic. Whereas these two, it's more true rim protection, more paint, stopping guys in the paint, disrupting shots, those sort of things. And I think compared to last year, if you'd say, hey, you're going to get 10 and 10 out of your 2 5s, and you're also going to have 3 blocks and alter probably another 10 shots, we'd take that all day. And I think the performance was good. I still think Jacobson just continues to look more and more comfortable, only has that one post up, but we saw him rushing those so many times early on in the season. And I just think he's more fluid with it now, more comfortable with it, and I think it's only going to get better as the season goes on. I definitely think as we look at it, the subject kind of gets brought up on some of the new guys of like, what do we expect them to be in March? I think Jacobson probably has the biggest chance on that growth curve of being something far better come March than he is right now.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And there's still to me the question of what does he do against like super physical bigs? I think like just kind of thinking through some of the matchups, I feel like he hasn't gone up against many of them yet, or at least as of late. But at the same time, against some of these teams where he knows he has the size advantage, that's where he is yeah, just simply more comfortable right now and understand similar to Clough. Like I think they just both understand like, oh, like I have these physical traits, they're different. Clough's is gigantic height wise, like he's tall, obviously, but he's also just like an incredibly strong human being. Whereas Jacobson's just like, I'm taller and longer than you. They're both just kind of like, okay, yeah, I can kind of just like in these certain spots get to my spots and I don't need to rush and I can just get to them. And that has been, I think, very big for growth. And like you said, should hopefully, especially for Jacobson, should only continue to get better as he's now played the 13 complete college basketball games. So I think that's a good thing to remember as well. As we kind of are finishing up some of the rotation guys. Oh, Benner's. I mean, we got to talk about Benner. 11 points, knocks down all 4 of his shots, 3 of them coming from 3-point land. Also has 2 rebounds. It's small. I can't. No, I think that's it for his stats. Did also draw at. Did he draw 2 charges? I think. Those
2
don't show up in the
charges.
stat sheet, but did draw
Yeah,
2
2
charges. And
charges.
probably should have been a third. What do you got on Jack Benner?
I mean, Joe, he played 11 minutes. He had 11 points on 4 of 4 shooting, 3 of 3 from 3, 2 rebounds, drew 2 blocks, only had 1 turnover on 11 minutes. Like, for your bench guy, that's what? Probably the
The
8th or
ninth guy in
9th
the rotation.
option, right?
Yeah.
8th or 9th guy in the rotation. Like, you're going to take that all day of the week. And I've been saying all year we're gonna see some game where he gets going from 3, and I don't think this is it. He goes 3 from 3, but I still think there's going to be a game at some point this year where he knocks down 5 or 6 in a game. But Trey talked in the post game press conference. Somebody asked him a question about Benner. He does just bring a different look, and I thought he brought up a good point. He kind of equated it to him and Mason. when they were the 2-4 options, and Mason was more of the outside shooter that would get in and mix it up down low, but it's not like he was posting up or necessarily getting a ton of his points in the paint. And Benner kind of takes on that role of Mason Gillis a little bit, and if he can get more consistent, his percentage is good, but if he can get more consistent on that low volume, then I really think he can kind of fulfill that Mason Gillis type role. And I know we've talked about him defensively. I still think he's, with his effort, he's playing pretty good defense. And I kind of equate him to Dakota Mathias in terms of where Dakota was early on, not super athletic, but just was a good defender with effort. And by the time he was a senior, was one of the best defenders in the Big Ten. And I think there's a chance that like Benner progresses towards that, especially as he gets back to his true spot of a 3-man as it gets later in his career, because I mean, you can tell he works on it and that he cares about it.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm definitely still hesitant for the defense, and it's kind of a wait and see because, like, I don't think he'll play. I think he can play the 4 throughout his career. I don't think that'll be his primary spot in future seasons. So some of the foot speed stuff is like I still, not that I think it's gonna for sure be bad, just kind of want to see it first. But the one thing I will say for the defense is like he fights, man. Like he is defending out of position every single game right now. He is going up against 4s, which he should not be. Or I shouldn't say should not be, but like in an ideal world, he is not defending those types of players, and he is in the right spots, and he just fights. Like he battles for boards, he takes charges, he takes contacts, like um, a Southern Indiana boy, where he's just like he's just willing to be incredibly physical, and at his size, like right, he's probably listed at roughly the same size and weight that Mason Gillis was, and I'm gonna check that right now. Gillis was listed as 15 pounds heavier, which checks out. Like Gillis was just sturdier and stockier than Benner, but like Benner has that like glue guy type of like I'm just going to do what I need to do to just work incredibly hard. And then he's also obviously an incredibly good shooter. 50% on the seasons we talked about, has made his last 4. I think part of why we talked about like the shooting hasn't quite been there is that today was his first game that he's made a 3 against a top 100 level KenPom opponents. Some of that obviously is like he just doesn't get always a ton of minutes, but it's a lot of like he went 3 of 6 in the first game, 3 of 7 in the second game against Evansville and Oakland, 2 of 3 against Eastern Illinois, and then the last 2 are the only other games that he's knocked down to 3. So it's good to see him get one going in a game like this against a better opponent in Auburn.
Yeah, I think his minutes are. I think his minutes are a little bit funny compared to some of the other players we may talk about who may get, in terms of what their minute load is going to be, because like Benner's going to get 10 minutes every game because they want to 8 to 10. 8 to 10 because they don't want to play Trey more than 32. Painter's talked about that multiple times over the last 3 seasons in terms of just where they like to keep him from a minute load so that he's the most efficient when he's out there. So, some of the other 2s and 3s, it can fluctuate from one game to another. So, like, I'm wondering, and I'd like to ask Jack this sometime, but it's hard to get in a flow when you're playing lower minutes. But like when he knows, like, I'm going to be in this zone every game, whether he's just getting more comfortable with that as a process standpoint.
Yeah, I think that's very fair, and we can pull up the rotation chart here. Right, Benner, like you said, he's going to be anywhere from probably 7 to 12 in a normal game. He gets a few garbage time minutes, which bumps him up to 10 on the game. Doesn't have a ton of minutes, but like has a consistent role in that spots where, yeah, he's going to have the green light. Side note, the only other thing I want to call out is because it's something you've mentioned after the Iowa State game of just like letting if CJ's cooking, just like letting him run a bit more. And Painter did do that in this first stint. Usually, like it is an automatic sub at the first media timeout. CJ comes out, Jakari comes in. It was only an extra minutes, and I think CJ had a defensive breakdown, and it's not like he hit a shot in that minute, but like Painter was still willing to let him just kind of he was willing to just let it ride a little bit more. And right, if CJ was just cooking was gonna let CJ keep going. So I just wanted to call that out because I know that's something you mentioned following the Iowa State game. As we get back to the players, like I think the only players we haven't mentioned are Meyer and Murphy. Nothing to mention on Murphy. He only plays the 3 garbage time minutes. Meyer, he also mainly played more garbage time minutes. Only had 4 minutes in the first half, and then most of his second half minutes were essentially in blowout territory. Does have 4 points on 2 or 3 shooting, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 turnovers, 2 steals. There's not like, I don't know. It's the kind of the same thing with him, right? Like you just need to keep getting him minutes right now, especially in these types of games, where it's obviously still very meaningful, but like you can survive 5 bad Meyer minutes if that's what happens, and it'd be fine early in the season. Now, as the season progresses, if he's still having some of the mistakes, right, he's going to get a shorter leash. But I'm still very much pro getting him these reps, just
Yeah.
because I think they're very valuable for his development. And even like I think you were kind of getting a jump start on getting a good see. The press conference left just like a minute early. Like Meyer had a bad turnover or two in that final stretch. And obviously, you don't want the turnovers. And if this was a close game, right, he's not going to be in those spots. But I do, it's not that I want him to have turnovers, but it's just like he's the one player, especially right now, that I view more of a long term than a right now. Because right when it comes down to crunch time, Braden's going to play 38 minutes. Like if in the Elite Eights in the Final Four games that Purdue plays, like if they play them, like Braden's going to play maybe even 40 minutes. So it's not like a necessity for him to have to be a rotational player. But I just like him making some of the mistakes because he can learn from them. And like some of the passes he can make, it's now like, okay, I've tried that. I understand. This is how I have to either fix it or I just can't make that type of pass. So I think, right, Braden went through the same thing his freshman season. It's just Braden's was on a very large scale of like everything was scrutinized. And Meyer's fortunate where he can make some of those mistakes and it not be too costly. And all this obviously sets up for him. He has to keep improving. Like if it's game 31 and he's still making all of the same mistakes, that's not good. But does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I think, well, one, and I mentioned this in real time during the game, probably the most impressive thing I saw from him was he hadn't scored a point in the game, hadn't really been all that involved in the game other than, just come in, run the offense when Braden needed to sit down and, gets a breakaway and turns it down, waits for Benner to come up, drops him a little pass so that he can jump out of the gym and show that he's a big time dunker. And if like you were worried at all about, is he upset about not having a bigger role or anything like that? I think that answers a lot of questions for you right there. Because if a guy's upset in any way, shape, or form about what his role is, he's going to go get his right there, and he let somebody else have it. So I think that speaks volumes just in a single play of who Meyer is. And I think a lot, and I know we've talked about this several times, but we need to quit pushing the narrative, and not we, me and you. Others need to quit pushing this narrative of like Meyer needs to be this guy, this he needs to be scoring more, he needs to be doing this, doing all these other things for this Purdue team to get to the Final Four and win a national championship, yada yada yada. Because there was this expectation coming into the season that he might be more from those standpoints, especially from a scoring standpoint. But we've seen, kind of where it is, and we've seen enough to know that it's probably not going to be a 10 to 14 point score or anything like that. And he's not necessarily going to be a really high percentage 3-point shooter on low volume. So, his role, come in, facilitate the offense, make good passes, take care of the ball, don't turn it over. Get to the rim a couple times, hit your mid-range a couple times, and if you got an open three, take it. But he doesn't even take one tonight, which I thought was also positive of like he didn't feel like he had to force up a three at some point tonight.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And 2 more points on Meyer, and we're probably spending too long on a player who, in a game where he was the one that didn't really impact the game. Blake Whitmer says Omar just needs to make the simple pass when the defense gives the simple pass. He tries cross-court stuff too often when the defense is giving a simple reverse. I do not disagree with that statement at all. The reason I bring it up is that I know, and maybe not Blake specifically, but I know there were plenty of comments of this exact same thing for Braden's freshman year. And again, I fully agree with the statements. Like, it's not that I disagree with Blake whatsoever. It's more of just like Braden also had to go through these learning curves. And obviously, I think Braden was a better freshman than what Meyer is and all that. I'm not saying Omar Meyer is going to be the next Braden Smith by any capacity. If you listen to the start of the show or I don't know, I talked about Braden for like 10 minutes straight, it felt like, of just how incredible he is. But right, Braden had to go through also some of these kind of learning curves. And I just made like this comment, again, I agree with. It just made me laugh because I know for a fact this was brought up multiple times during Braden's freshman year. And so it's just kind of a point that, hey, Braden, Meyer can get there. He just, again, does have to kind of be able to mix in some of the simpler stuff while learning some of the more advanced stuff that he can do. The other thing, going to the board really quick, is it did stand out to me how deliberate Purdue used Meyer on ball to initiate Braden off ball stuffs in just the couple minutes that they shared the floor together. And they ran it this same play basically twice in a row as soon as Meyer kind of entered the floor, where Meyer has the ball up here and it was like a high ball screen here. Meyer comes off and Braden's going to be here, right? He's working off ball. I think he started here on one and I think he started here in the corner on the other. But basically, as this happens, ball gets reversed over to Clough, who kind of leaks out here. So that way he now has the ball. Meyer's here, and you're allowing Braden to work off ball. Meyer probably filled out more here, and you're allowing him to work off ball. And this is just their simple, right? Their zoom action, the pin down into a handoff here, and now he's able to curl. And maybe Meyer even cleared out here, regardless. But just wanted to call out, like, because they did it twice in a row, like as soon as Meyer got in the game, where they put Braden off ball, allowed Meyer to make that simple initial kind of action, and then now they can flow into Braden off ball, get him into some of those looks. They've obviously mixed in some of the off ball zoom action for him plenty this season, but it just felt very, very deliberate for him, utilizing Meyer as kind of the primary initiator to then set up some Braden Smith off ball action. So just wanted to kind of call that out on the board as well. I think that's it, though, for probably player breakdowns for this one. Anything else? Players, key, big picture takeaways, anything like that?
We've spent 57 minutes talking about essentially 30-point win. Let's go ahead and get to play of the game and player of the game. I can't even speak right now. Player of the game and
well, let's go to play of the game, and then we'll give out our game balls for our players of the game. I'm gonna go play of the game first, and Kraig kind of alluded to it earlier. There was one specific pass, and I did post it on my Twitter. It was Braden Smith. It's comes off of its 77 action, which is a double high ball screen. Auburn is high hedging the second one. Jakari is on the weak side, and basically Auburn's hedging, and then they help way off of Jakari to the roller, who was, I believe, Clough. Yeah, it was Clough. TKR is kind of up on the top of the key. Braden comes off the second screen. Auburn's high hedging. As soon as the big starts to go away, Braden like takes a step forward, contorts his body, jumps, turns like 90 degrees in midair, and rifles a skip pass fully across the court right into the shooting pocket of Jakari. Jakari drills it. Like, it was one of those passes. It was just like, and I posted on Twitter, and honestly, like the camera makes it look much simpler than what it was. But like where we were sitting, we had the angle of like the same kind of direction that Braden was looking, and obviously the actual angle elevation is different from where we were sitting than what Braden had. But like, just an absolutely incredible pass, and the camera does not do it justice. I promise it did not, because that was just like, I truly believe there are like maybe 3 players in college basketball making that pass. It was just an absurd play.
Yeah. So I'm going to go with Trey Kaufman-Renn, and this is a play partially just because we've kind of been wanting to see him like take over and be like, I am the big man down here, and I am the stud in the post, and I'm going to do it. So that plays into this a little bit, and I kind of mentioned this already, but he gets switched. Pettiford gets switched onto him. He kind of dribbles out to the wing, resets, kind of looks at the court, takes him, and I swear that 3 people came to help. Not maybe all the way, but like 2 people came in. So then it was 1-on-3, and there was another guy maybe 2 feet away, and he just goes right through him and finishes to score. And I just thought that spoke to a little bit of like Trey kind of getting some frustration out of like, I'm gonna go get it. With it coupled with it just being an incredible play of physicality. And in the post game press conference, Painter said that he's never coached a player like Trey that gets himself into trouble where it looks like it's going to be a terrible shot or a turnover, who finishes and gets to the line on a make or just makes the basket on its own, more than he sees it from Trey. So that's my play of the game for this one.
I love it. We can get to player of the games and the way this works, you can go first, but if you want me to go first, I can. Up to you.
I'm gonna let you go first again.
All right. Well, I think anybody that listened to this show can probably guess who my player of the game is, and that would be one Braden Smith. 11 points, 14 rebounds, 14 assists, 5 rebounds. We did call out he had 4 rebounds in the first like 8 minutes, and it was like maybe this is the one. And then obviously he only gets one more rebound, 3 steals, 1 block. The defensive hands are also just incredibly impressive. I could keep talking about Braden Smith for 25 more minutes, but I won't. So I'll just start to you. Who was your player of the game?
Well, I let you go first so I could give it to my guy, CJ Cox. 14 points tonight, and we're neither of us are given the player of the game or the game ball to the guy who led the team in scoring. But 14 points on 5 of 8 shooting, 4 of 7 from 3, and again playing really good defense against Keyshawn Hall in the minutes that he was on him. But just for me, I thought he was the most dynamic offensive player we had out there when this game was still kind of in question. And that lead gets pushed up to, it kind of went to 5 to 7 to 8 and kind of stayed there for 5 or 6 minutes and then got up to double digits and whatever. But, when the game was still tight, to me, he was the most important offensive piece out there. And just, again, in another game, I think this is the 3rd game now where he's kind of been the lightning rod out of the gate.
Yeah, no, his threes were big.
Yeah, I do have a question for you because Rayfeld Davis tweeted this out a couple of days ago. I don't know if you saw it.
Nope.
But he said that CJ Cox was the best perimeter defender in the Big Ten. And that he's one of 4 players in the running for Defensive Player of the Year in the Big Ten. I'm guessing you don't agree, and I don't know that I do either.
I think CJ's a
defensive guy.
I think CJ's a good defender. Don't get me wrong. And I think even on my before his freshman season, I was like, this could be a dude that's a defensive team by his senior season. I don't think I can quite get there. Like the versatility, right? He did do pretty well in Keyshawn Hall. It is still forced to, and that was who he was primarily matched up with today. He still forces him to help. I don't want to sound like CJ's not a good defender because he is, but I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can quite get to that level. But again, CJ has been a very good defender.
And I'm with you exactly because of that, because of the way Purdue schemes. And Blake pulls it up and says Rayfeld Davis is going to have some more ammo for CJ, Defensive Player of the Year. He shut down Anderson, Philon, Tyson, Ross, and Pettiford. And when you look at that list, it does pop. When you look at the guys he's played and been able to shut down defensively. But again, Purdue schemes to kind of force everything baseline into help. So I'm with you there. It's not like maybe a Michigan State system where it's more like just man on man. I'm going to shut you down individually.
Yeah, and I don't know if CJ makes the defensive team. I don't think it's the craziest thing in the world by any means. Don't get me wrong, but there's some good defenders in the Big Ten, so it's going to be fun. But also CJ even just sort of being in those talks is also a testament to where he is at. Jason Pugh, he gets the $9.99 super chat. It says player of the game is Braden. Play of the game is Braden's blocked 3-point attempt. Thanks for the content as always, guys. Yeah, that was a fun one, the blocked 3-point attempt. And Braden's been close on a few of them, it felt like, in this game. And did get one to actually block. I think I thought it was Pettiford, but it might not have been.
It was
who he blocked. Yeah, so it was on Pettiford too. So and Braden did a good job on Pettiford today too. And I know Pettiford gets hurt and ultimately doesn't play the last however many minutes, but Pettiford 5 points on 2 of 7 shooting, 1 assist, 1 turnover, and that was Braden was on him a good chunk of that. So credit to Braden for also his improved defensive effort. Couple comments, then I think we'll get out of here. Blake Whitmer says he was adding nothing to see here. Said I agree. The 30-foot bounce pass to Clough was the play of the game for me. I'm gonna be real. Like, I don't remember that pass.
I don't either. I don't
I
either.
literally do not remember that. Like, I fully believe Blake that it happened, and nothing to see here. Like, fully believe it. I literally do not remember that pass. So that one's on me. I'm gonna go back and have to rewatch that one. Uh, Shout out them for being able to remember and recall it, because I literally just do not know. But I'm sure it was a great pass. I'm very confident in that much. So, couple other, unless you had something.
No.
No. Okay. A couple other comments. Heather Garrison says, "How was the crowd and atmosphere at Gamebridge tonight? Were you both there?" We were both there in person. Um, the atmosphere wasn't like, and maybe it's just expectations, because when I think of the Gamebridge, it's like that Purdue Arizona game from a couple years ago. Like,
Yeah.
that was electric. It didn't get to that level, and um, it just right, never quite got there. And Purdue basically not going on. They had an 11-0 run to like end the game, but aside from that, there was no. It was just 7-0 runs the whole time. There was never that moment where it was like 3 straight possessions of elite play. It was like 2 and 2.5, and where the crowd's about to burst, but they just can't because Auburn hits a random shot. So it was still good, but it wasn't like, I wouldn't say it was elite.
Yeah, no, it was that slow, methodical march of the lead. Just like we get 3, you get 2. We get 4, you get 2. But it never like came to a crescendo at any point. By the way, Texas Tech just tied up Duke with 2
Oh,
minutes to go after being down like double digits. So keep an eye on that, guys.
Purdue needs. I mean, there's still a long season left, and if Purdue just takes care of business, they can be a 1 seed. But getting some help along the way would be very beneficial for kind of where they're at right now. Some very early bracketology stuff's coming out. It seems like Purdue's a 2-3 seed type area. Obviously, it's before the Auburn game, and there's still a lot of games left. So JB GX4LG said, "I'd have taken one loss in the non-conference before the season, but the one loss we took and the way we took it was not good." And I think that summarizes it, right? Like, you go, assuming they beat Kent State, like they go 12-1. Obviously, 2 of those are Big Ten games. So what would that be? 10-1 in non-conference. Given kind of the schedule, they're right now 26th toughest non-conference schedule in the country. They're probably like top 5 or 8 in terms of high major, like difficulty for non-conference. So you take the record, but obviously the one loss looms incredibly large. I'm just going to keep going, and if you have something, just jump in.
No, we've seen so many of these games where somebody gets thumped by 20 and then comes out and looks incredible 2 days later that I don't know that the margin's gonna loom that large by the time we get done with Big Ten play. I don't know when they're evaluating resumes later that they're gonna be like, oh man, 20-point loss to Iowa State is just absolutely horrendous. So it stinks that, but again, when we talked after that game and maybe took some flack that I pushed the narrative a little bit that, it wasn't as simple as just missing open shots, but there were a lot of missed open shots that game. So
I looked at the stats. They were 1 of 16 on open catch and shoot threes again in that Iowa State game. Like, that doesn't cover everything, but like, it covers a lot. Like, if Purdue went 1 of 16 on open catch and shoot threes today, we're talking about this game much differently. So yeah, long season ahead. There's still plenty of time to kind of recover from that loss. And like you said, like, I looked up the stats. There was more like 20+ point wins in ranked first ranked games in November than like there was all of last season. It's just kind of where college basketball has been this season. So Jason Depew said, "I love DJ's off the ball shot blocking. Just would love to see him use the Zach wall up on the ball." Yeah, that's just, I think, going to come with time. Jacobson learning to stay a little bit more vertical, but he does have very good timing, I think, on his rotation. So that has been good to see. Jeff Parks says, "Joe, did Purdue do anything schematically to get the open threes from the wing, or was Auburn just trying to pack the paints?" I think it's a mix where Auburn was very much sending help and trying to pack the paints, and Purdue does a good job basically when that happens of either getting the ball on the post and working out from there, or just letting Braden run high pick and roll, drag out the big. And when that happens, then you really have to send help. And if you go watch Braden Smith passing his back, he's just an incredible skip passer. So some of those things kind of all go together where Purdue has seen it enough that they can scheme the looks open, and Braden's also just incredible once again. Jarrett Goodell says, "We are now up to 16th on defense per KenPom, better than I expected this season." Yeah, like they're hovering in that kind of 15 to 30, 15 to 25 range, and that's where they need to be defensively. Like that's kind of all that they need to be. I don't think anybody expects them to be a top 10 defense. If they get there, then that's an incredibly scary team, I think, come March. So that wraps it up for some of the comments as well. Did you have anything else you kind of just wanted to add before we get out of here?
I was just going to give a shout out to Blake because he did correct me. I said we didn't have bigger than a 7-0 run. In the comments, he said we did have an 11-0 run. I quit paying attention after we got up over 20. So whatever. Yeah. 11-0 run, but not when it mattered, Blake. Not when it mattered.
Yep. So appreciate everybody tuning in. Sounds like there's a very good Texas Tech Duke game. So we'll get right to that. Purdue does not play for the next week. I don't know exactly what our content schedule will be like, but just kind of be on the lookout for that. Make sure to make sure to subscribe, turn on bell notifications, all of that. Hope everybody has happy holidays and safe travels if you are traveling to be with family, friends, etc. But yeah, we'll be back sometime in. I don't know when we'll be back, but we'll be back definitely sometime to preview Kent State's and keep talking Purdue basketball. Appreciate everybody tuning in, and we will see you whenever